Hello everyone, this is the fifth episode in the series about the Warmage, the battleship that I'm currently working on. And as you can see, it floats now, though much lower than I want it to, and it does even have a little bit of upward-facing propellers for lift. Uh, Preferably I want it to float there. The original plan was to have it float there, but that's not going to happen. It's just not viable. It would require too much power, and the guns need quite a bit of power. As well as there's this thing on top. Ignore that. That's very temporary. It's just about the size of the thing that I actually want to put there. As for other weapons that are probably going to stay, there are these cram cannons, which are mortars. They are very big. They take up the whole tower. Uh, they do have. They are mostly EMP. That's because I do want to include an EMP weapon on the ship, but I also didn't want to put it on something like the missiles or any of the drones, things like that. Basically, I wanted it to be a more unreliable weapon so that the it doesn't just kill things by hitting it with a massive amount of EMP and it just dies. I mean, that probably will happen if it lands both of its mortars, but they're mortars, so they're probably not going to land. As well as there are these missiles. These are going to be moved most likely, and they aren't. They're going to be, armored. Um, but these are just big kinetic missiles, mainly to distract lands. As well as in the underside of the water, there's heavy armor down here, just because uh, balancing purposes, I want the weight to be lower down. As well as there are these interceptor turrets with torpedo interceptors on them. This one is partially painted. Don't know how that happened. As well as there are these large heat missiles, or yeah, shaped charge head missiles. Sorry, torpedoes. Um, Two of those they do quite well. Uh, as for its propulsion and steering, there are these large azapods or azipods. I don't remember how they're pronounced. These are just hollow for now. They probably will be armored. As well as I don't know really what else I'd put in them. Maybe ACBs for controlling thrust directions and stuff like that. Uh, as these are just there for now. These will also be armored. Same with for the rest of this thing. It'll it'll be armored eventually, but as for right now, it just needed some things. So there's these, as well as all these bulkheads in here which allow it to float. Um, I believe, like I said earlier, these doesn't currently need these to maintain its altitude. These are mainly for pitch and roll, but once it gets heavier, it will definitely need them for altitude control, or more for altitude control. So as I've worked on some of the shaping, I'm really actually enjoying Mega Slopes now. All I had to do was uninstall it and reinstall it, and it fixed the lag issues that I was having earlier. Uh, as for the sort of keep area, there is some like underside down here. This is going to be great for decorating it later, putting in other stuff, Easter eggs, if somebody downloads it off the workshop. But that's all for later stuff. As for right now, I suppose we should do a combat test now that it floats. Still fully unarmored, but let's just see it shoot at something. And Megalodon isn't really an appropriate challenge. The Megalodon is, I believe, half the cost. Also, like I said, ignore this. It's not really doing any damage. Also, if the Megalodon lands its EMP, I don't know what on the Megalodon has EMP on it, but something does. We currently don't have any surge protectors, uh, so it will just kill us if it lands the EMP. Also, apparently we don't have enough, what is it? enough processing power for the remote guidance missiles. But it seems like the lambs are disabled. Yeah, those mortars are missing wildly. But yeah, the Cram is probably my favorite weapon system currently. I mean, I like the APS, but I don't know. I do a lot of APS on most of my builds. Oh, those actually landed. Quite good. Those are, what is it? I don't believe I mentioned, but the mortars are hollow point EMP because I didn't want to have to deal with trying to do penetration depth fusing and whatnot. And also, we already have the main cram for penetration. So let's see what kind of damage we have taken. I mean, it's completely unarmored, so I imagine we are listing horribly to whatever side was being shot at. Not as low in the water as I thought would be. Taking some damage to the lasers, though not a lot. Yeah, I mean, this is all pretty superficial damage. None of the main weapon systems have been damaged at all. But, yeah, as I said earlier, this is not really an appropriate challenge. It's under half the cost. It's just a different weight class. But it is nice to see that it floats and it can shoot at things. Anyways, that's going to be all for this episode. Tune in next time for more progress.